Okay, let's start with our code flow. The most important, the most crucial part of this video. Why? Because in the code flow, we are going to build all the 6 microservices. Complete full microservices project we are going to build in our code flow. I'm going to show you, explain you step by step, complete LLD, low level design. Okay, that's why I told you no need to watch my full video ever. Just watch the code flow, understand the code flow, and that's it. And you can code at your own, whatever project it is. I guarantee. Now let's see what we're going to cover in this video. Okay, so at first, service discovery, Eureka service. Okay, we'll create the Eureka service. We'll do the configuration. I'm going to show you everything. Don't worry. Okay, Eureka registration discovery, obviously. The second service we'll create is API gateway, single point entry with authentication. Most important. Okay, most important. And I've also created a dedicated video on these two topics on my channel. You can just go and watch. Please watch it if you don't know what is these and what is the use. Everything I've covered. The third is inter-service communication. Obviously, we'll use the Feign clients for synchronous calls. How our services contact to each other. Suppose user wants to issue the book, borrow a book. Then borrow service, there is a borrow service, needs to contact to the user service for the user information. Book service for the book information. So how these two services, different Spring Boot projects contact to each other, Feign clients. How? Don't worry. Code flow is there. I'll explain you in the code flow and when we code. Okay. The fourth thing is asynchronous messaging, RabbitMQ for notification, most important. Also, I've created a crash course which is available free in our YouTube. Crash course on RabbitMQ. You can go and watch it. Okay, so most important in case when email fails. Okay, user issue a book, will send the email, okay, you have issued this book, but if the email fails, then RabbitMQ. Then database per service. Okay, we're going to use a separate databases for each service. So we'll use the Postgres. Okay, Postgres, fine. Super popular nowadays. Then distributed transactions, obviously, and then circuit breaker, Feign client resilience. Another important topic of microservices. We'll add. Another important topic of microservices. See, I told you, if you are going to do project with me, then no need to learn the microservices explicitly. Okay, we are going to cover everything in a most beautiful way. I guarantee it. Okay, and these all are my student feedback. You can just go and check the comments of any video. Okay, fine. The next thing is, and see, and this is the best way. The example is in front of you, code flow. I can also go and directly code and you can just copy and paste. No, I want you to code so that from the next video, you don't need me to help you. Okay, the last thing is driven architecture. Okay, notification events through messaging, and one more thing remaining, that is email implementation. We are going to implement email, obviously, for the email notification. Okay, to complete our project. See how many things we are going to learn in this project. Okay, and from basic, no prior knowledge needed. Okay, one thing, if you don't know what a Eureka service API gateway, you can go and watch that video. RabbitMQ also crash course available on the channel. Okay, so this is what all about we are going to cover. Let's deep dive and start our code flow. Okay, fine. Okay, let's start. Our step 1, pay attention. So let's consider this is our user. User wants to borrow user wants to borrow a book. Okay, to do that, first user needs to be authenticated. Okay, that means first user needs to log in himself. So this is what our login page, and username, password, and this is what the login button. Okay, so user entered his username, password, and then hit the login button. Now tell me, and yeah, In between, I'm going to ask the questions and you need to answer me. Okay. So now once user hit the login button, let's say the URL pattern is slash user, one second, slash user slash login. Okay, so once user hit the login button, the control goes to which service? User service? No. The control first hit the API gateway. API gateway. API gateway contacts to the Eureka server where all the services already registered themselves. Once we start our application, user service will create, book service will create, borrow service, notification service, all other services already register themselves with our Eureka server. Okay, and then Eureka server responds with where my user service, see, login, sign up, authentication responsible for our user service. Okay, so so user service. Okay, this is our one microservice, one Spring Boot app will create user service. Okay, so authentication part, user service will take care. Fine. So Eureka server responds that our user service is running on the port, let's say 8081. Okay, and then what API gateway will do is, fine, API gateway will proceed with localhost 8081. So it will proceed with localhost 8081 slash user slash login. Okay, and then it will hit our method, whatever method is responsible for post mapping, and then proceed with the logging. Okay, rather hitting directly to the localhost 8081, all the requests going to hit the API gateway, which is running on the port, base port 8080. If we want to search the book, first API gateway. API gateway contact to the Eureka server. Eureka server responds that actual service is running on which port, and then based on the URL pattern, user login book. Okay, and then proceed with the whatever process. Okay, backend. I've already explained in a complete much detail using real world example with debugging API gateway and Eureka server. The video is already there. You can just watch it. Okay, fine. This is what the login process. Okay, and then we'll create in the backend login method, authenticate, register normal user, register admin user, whatever method. Okay, the same thing, we have created a lot of projects, the same login process using JWT authentication. Okay, JWT authentication, fine. So once logged in, user gets the JWT token is stored in cookie. This is the important part. Is stored in cookie. Okay, fine. We are not going to use the local storage or session storage because those can be accessible using JavaScript, that is security breach. So cookie is the best option for us. Okay, already explained the past projects. Fine. So it validates the credential, it generates the JWT token and return the response with the user details, whatever. And then user gets the JWT token stored in the cookie. Fine. Login process done. Step one done. Now, in real world, like this is the app, once you'll open, you'll log in, and this is what the backend process. So that you can think in that way and you can create at your own the coding. That's why I'm just showing everything in the backend. Okay. Then once we log in to the home page, then the first thing is we'll search the books. Okay, the book we want to issue, we want to borrow, that book will search. Okay, so step number 2. Okay, fine. Step 2, browse the book. Fine, browse. So let's say we want to search effective Java. Okay, there's a book effective Java. Fine. Okay. So once logged in, let's say this is our dashboard. Okay, where user redirected, and this is the search bar. This is our search bar, and you can search the books. Okay, so user just entered here effective Java and hit the this. Okay, so in this process, we'll create another Spring Boot app, another our service, microservice, that is the book service. Okay, and in that there is one method we'll create, uh, search books. Fine. So once user hit this search button, again the same thing, API API gateway. Okay, then Eureka. Okay, then Eureka respond with on which port number our book service is running. So let's say it is running on the port 8082. Fine. And then it will attach the URL pattern. Suppose the URL pattern is book and then search and then whatever query it is. Okay, fine. So it will just localhost 8082 and then book and then search whatever. Okay, so what we'll get is we will get it returns paginated list with availability status. Paginated list with availability status. Okay, just like effective Java books with 5 copies available. Okay, so just like this, whatever. Okay, we'll just configure it. So with availability status, okay, we need to configure it. Fine, I mean to update it once borrow, once return, everything. Okay, like full project. Fine, this is our step number 2 and the backend process. Step number 3, the main process, the most important step, that is issue process, borrow. Okay, user wants to issue the book or borrow the book. Fine, the most important, okay, where uh, inter-service communication happens. Okay, so suppose the next is once user clicked on the search, okay, got the book, and then suppose this is what effective Java. Okay, and here is the borrow button. Okay, fine. So once clicked on this borrow button, same thing, API gateway. Okay, so it validates the token. Fine, backend process, it validates the token and fetch the user ID. Okay, and then contact to the borrowing service. Okay, our next microservice, next Spring Boot project, that is the borrowing service. Okay, so 1 second, let me user service. Okay, API gateway Eureka server is also fine. Eureka service. Okay, and then book service, and then borrowing service. Okay, fine. Now, now what? It routes to the borrowing service and proceed. Now, borrowing service needs to contact to the user service. Okay, see, now user is borrowing the book. Okay, so we need the user information also and the book information also at the time of borrowing. Okay, like which user email, whatever, and the book information, title, author, whatever. So our user service, our borrowing service Spring Boot project microservice needs to contact to these two services, these two different services running on different port. Okay, so How? Many ways. So we are going to use the Feign client. Okay, and then API gateway, and then finally the user service. Okay, to contact to the user service in order to fetch the user details. Similarly, again the borrowing service using the Feign client, okay, to the same API gateway, and this is what our book service. Okay, so these two our different microservices running on different port. Okay, to fetch the book details. Next, our code will check the borrowing limit. Borrowing limit. Okay, so a user a user can at max borrow 5 books. Okay, so our code will internally check in the database the limit is reached or not. Okay, if this shows green signal, then what? The repository part. Okay, creates creates a borrowing record. Okay, so it contains, see, I'm also going to show you like this. It contains the user ID, let's say 1, book ID, let's say 5. Okay, borrowing date. So borrowing date. So local date time dot now. Okay, and return date. So this is what the object. Okay, it will create a record in our table. So now plus 14 days. Okay, so 14 days should be the need to return the book. Okay, and then status should be the active. Okay, so this is what the complete record it will create, finally checking everything. Okay, like borrowing service dot save. Okay, repository JPA. Then what? See, here we just seen, yeah, so effective Java books available with 5 copies, 1 copy already borrowed. Now we need to update this availability. Okay, so again borrowing service will Feign client, then API gateway, and then book book service. Okay, because see, book service controls the availability, all the book information available, okay, unavailable, whatever. So again needs to contact to the using Feign client to the book service, and here we need to set availability to like previous -1. Okay, fine. So now it is total 4 copies available, 1 already borrowed. Okay, fine. Yeah. Understood? Yeah, fine. So now the next is what? Notification. See, like how we are like we are going complete process in the backend in the real world. Like this should be in real world. You can imagine yourself. Uh, you open the app, web app or whatever, then log in, then you'll just search the book, then select the book, and then you want to issue. So just click on the issue, fine. So in the backend, this is happening. Okay, and we'll only able to see the whatever front end part, and then it again set the availability to -1, and then the notifications. Okay, RabbitMQ email notification. Okay, fine. So again, our borrowing service to RabbitMQ, and then our notification service. Okay, so another service, that is notification service. Okay, one more RabbitMQ. Yeah, total. Okay, fine. So one more thing. Mm, There are a few guys who just ask why RabbitMQ, like, okay, we are all already sending the email. See, RabbitMQ is asynchronous communication. Don't make user wait for email. If suppose email implementation, email sending failed, then RabbitMQ is a asynchronous communication. It's not a synchronous. See, thread. Okay, code Java part, thread, synchronization one by one, one by one. Asynchronous communication. Don't wait for email. Okay, RabbitMQ is responsible to send the confirmation like notifications or failed or whatever. Okay, that is why the most important. Also, I've created the crash course on RabbitMQ. You can just go and watch it. Okay, so it will create a another message record. Okay, yeah, and to save it into the notification service. So the record should be like user ID 1, book ID 5, and message type. Okay, so we'll use the enum or whatever. So it should be like book borrowed. Okay, and message book borrowed successfully, and this is let's say the title. Okay, effective Java. Yeah, yeah. So this is what our most important step, that is borrowing. Okay, that is what the user want. Okay, user wants to borrow the book. Okay, now 60% done. Okay, the other 40% remaining. Okay, fine. Important one. So the next step is step number, I guess, 4. Okay, notification processing. So notification processing. Okay, so the backend process, it will listens to the rabbit mq. Okay, q. What is q? Okay, everything I explained in the RabbitMQ crash course. Fine. And then publish the message, saves the record in the database. Okay, database. What record? Notification record. Okay. See, it also, using the Feign client, calls the what? User service. Why? To fetch the user information. Fine, because it is responsible to send the mail. So to send the mail, we need the user information, email ID, okay, username, whatever, and also what? Book service. Book service. Okay. So in mail, we need to include this book is issued. So book title, book author, whatever. So that's why. Okay, fine. Now step number 5. Step number 5. So it includes a functionality. We'll also develop the functionality so that user can check his borrowings. Okay, so what? Tell me what? So we need to display all the borrowings. Okay, so what all books I have borrowed? There's 4 books. Okay, so in that books we need to display the book information. Okay, so Feign client book service, and then we'll display the borrowings. Okay, list. Find important functionality. As I promised, we need to develop each and everything. Okay, the complete. After this, nothing is remaining. The resume ready, perfect interview ready, and whatever. You can just use any word. Okay, so it's complete microservices project. Then step number 6, daily overdue check. Daily overdue check. Yeah, daily, using another important annotation, that is at scheduled annotation. Add schedule annotations. Okay, why daily? Because suppose a user got past the 14 days, return restriction. Okay, suppose if on 1st of May I have issued a book and I need to return 14th till before 14 or till 14th. After 14th, then there will be a fine, mails, notifications, everything. So that's why daily overdue checks. Okay, so same thing, Feign client and borrowing service. Okay, and then it will just will okay. We are just checking the borrow date, return date, and then calculating the fine calculation. Okay, then sending the mails that okay 14 days passed, okay, this is the fine, this is what daily. Yeah, that is what daily fine. Okay, calculation, everything. Okay, so this is what can happen in actual okay, real time. Fine, most important. Okay, otherwise how library will earn. Okay, I'm just joking. Fine. So the last step is remaining is return process. Okay, so this is what one side, and the last is the return process. Suppose on 13th I need to return or whatever. Fine, or whatever on 13th, on 28th, with fine, without fine, I need to return. So return process. So if user wants to return, then user can see just like this all the borrowings. Okay, so effective Java, and there is suppose return button here. Return. Okay, so user clicks on the return button, same thing, API gateway, okay, and whatever, and contacts to the which service? Borrowing service. Okay, borrowing service. Okay, it routes to the borrowing service, and then what? Yeah, so there is a method return book. Okay, so return book. Okay, and then the next step is update the local DB, local databases. Okay, fine. And then the next step is because the user returned the book. Now, what? Tell me. Book service, Feign client. Okay, book service. Okay, so also update, same thing, update DB there too, DB. Okay, whatever, +1, -1, +1 availability. Now book is available, 4 to again 5. Okay, and the last thing is, okay, whatever, the last thing is um, what? Notification. So, yeah, notification. Okay, and it's like the confirmation mail. Okay, confirmation notification like book returned, and whatever book details, user details, whatever. Okay, so this is what the entire backend, entire code flow. Okay, from the starting. Okay, and we'll cover all the scenarios from both the sides. Fine. So, yeah. So, at first you want to issue or borrow a book. Okay. For that you need to user needs to authenticate it. Fine. Username, password, login to the API gateway running on the port 8080 Eureka server, responds based on the URL pattern, okay, and routes it with the user service port. Localhost 8081 user service login, whatever. And this is the method is responsible for authentication. What it will do, it will validate the credentials, generate the token, and finally user gets the JWT token stored in the cookie. Fine, that's done. Now, okay, now the dashboard, you can browse the books. Okay, effective Java, whatever. Okay, and then again hit on the search button, API gateway, Eureka, and route to the book service. Okay, then you can see, okay, this is what the paginated list and availability. Fine, you want to borrow the book. Step 4, borrow. Step 2 to step 4. Okay, fine, step missing. No worries, okay, just a step. Okay, fine. So now borrow. So API gateway validates the token backend process. Okay, fetch the user ID, borrow service routes to the borrowing service, and then now borrowing service needs to contact to both the services. User service to fetch the user info, book service to fetch the book information. Okay, so here, yeah, Feign client, you're using Feign client, and then we need to check the borrowing limit. A user can only at max book borrow the 5 books. Okay, whatever you can keep. Okay, infinite. Okay, fine. So 5 books. So once this this person gives me the green signal, then it will create a borrowing record, contains user ID, book ID. Okay, obviously will map. Yeah, definitely will map. Then borrow date, now return date plus 14. That's it. Yeah, plus 14 is the default for all the library. Okay, I'm telling for my. Okay, so status is active, active. Okay, then yeah, we need to update the databases. Okay, so Feign client book service availability -1, and then borrowing service to the RabbitMQ notification service. It will create a record which contains user ID, book ID, type is book borrowed. Okay, enum will create, and then book a message book borrowed successfully and title. Then step 4. Step 4. Now it got corrected. Okay, step 3. So step number 3. Yeah. Okay. So step 4 is notification processing. Okay, listens to the RabbitMQ queue. Okay, and save the record in the databases. Then Feign client user service and book service to fetch the user information. In order to send the mail, we need to include these all information. Okay, fine. Next is, yeah, user can check his borrowings. Fine. What all books he borrowed. Fine. Feign client book service to fetch the book information. Then daily overdue task using add schedule annotations. Fine. Why daily? Because we need to check the return date. Okay. If it got passed, then we need to send the calculate the fine and then send the mails notifications. Okay. RabbitMQ whatever. Fine. We are really good in notifications because I have created a dedicated video on that. Also the sending emails. Okay. So there is one video Gmail application. Okay, there are 3 parts. The first part is I've shown you how to send the mails entire. Okay, you can just go and watch it. And then return process. Yeah, so API gateway, return, borrowing service, update the local DB, Feign client, book service, update the DB there too, availability, and then notification, confirmation mail. Okay, fine, book return. Fine. So this is what the complete code flow. I hope you get the everything. Now your job. Like you can consider that, okay, fine, I understood this. Now it's my job. I can code as much as I can. Okay, you can code as much as you can. Okay, I'm not saying like fine, you can just, I want the entire complete project. I'm not going to code the next part. Okay, no, I will code, but just code as much as you can. If not, then video is there, you can watch the full video. Okay, also source code is available, complete source code is available on the description. You can just, but once you'll try, then only you have to open that source code. Okay, fine. So now the next thing is, let's deep dive into the coding part. Let's get our hands dirty and code it step by step. Okay, fine. So let me go to my browser and create the set up the project. Okay. Okay, so here is my browser, and let's go to our Spring initializer. Let's set up our project. Okay, yeah, so at first let's set up our Eureka server. Fine. So 1 second, library Eureka server. Okay, yeah, Now let's add the dependency. Okay, so we need to add this Eureka server. Okay, let me show you. Explore. Oh, 1 second. Here should be Maven. Okay, so explore, and yeah, you can see Spring Cloud starter Netflix Eureka server. Okay, Eureka server, not client. Fine. And yeah, that's it. Okay, Java, and see configuration. So YAML. Fine. Not properties application, not properties application dot YAML. Okay, so YAML, and Java 17. Let's keep it 17, and yeah, generate it. So let it download. Okay, done. Now what else others? So others are API gateway. Okay, then user service, then book service, then borrowing service, and then notification service. Okay, fine. So let's set up these projects. Library next is API gateway. Okay, please pay attention here, it's important part. Okay, setting up the project. Yeah, fine. Now here, from now we need to add Eureka client, because all of those service API, user, book service, borrowing service need to register themselves with Eureka. Okay, so they are the client and Eureka is the server. Fine. So let's remove it and let's add the Eureka. See here, not server, client. Okay, let me also show you this Spring Cloud starter Netflix Eureka client. Okay, fine. Yeah, the next is API gateway. Okay, so actuator, 1 second, add dependency actuator. Okay, and one more dependency, will add it externally. Okay, that is starter gateway. Okay, yeah, so API gateway YAML 17 Maven. Okay, fine. We need to change the version also, so we'll do it when we'll code. Okay, in the pom.xml. Okay, let's generate it. Okay, done. The next is user, library user. We need to set up all our microservices. Okay, fine. So now, yeah, so all other services also need to register themselves with Eureka, so this client remains same. And yeah, Spring Web, then JPA, then we are going to use the Postgres, so driver, and then Spring Security, and then validation, and then Lombok. Okay, then dev tools, yeah, Spring Boot dev tools, and OAuth to resource server. Okay, you can say Spring Boot integration for Spring Security's OAuth resource server features. Okay, and then one more dependency, that is JWT. Okay, so we'll add it externally. Okay, rest is, yeah, that's it. Generate it. So library user service, now just we need to change the names, that's all. Book service, and these all remain same. Yeah, for all book service, borrowing service, these all remain same. Okay, we are going to use the different Postgres. Okay, JPA, Spring Web, client, whatever, same. So generate it, library book service. Okay, then borrowing service, generate it, then notification service, generate it. Okay, so all 6 services. Let me go to our folder and then extract it one by one. Okay, so see, now you can do at your own. Pause the video and you can do at your own. Okay, so first is library Eureka, and what, extract all. Okay, extract it. Yeah, then gateway, extract all, extract, then library user service, book service, borrowing service, okay, and library notification service. Fine. Okay, so these all are our projects. Okay, now let me go to my Eclipse. Okay, you can choose any editor, IntelliJ, Eclipse. Okay, fine. And import Maven, existing Maven projects, browse, and yeah. So first Eureka, select folder, finish it. Then the same thing for all, import existing Maven, browse, and then API gateway, okay, finish it. Then user service, okay, and then import existing Maven projects, what, book service, okay, book service, finish it, and then import existing Maven projects, browse, borrowing service, it's running in the backend, okay, and then what, the last one is notification service, okay, select folder, finish it. Fine, so let it import. Okay, yeah, okay, fine. So few things we need to add and need to make the changes. The first thing is in our API gateway, okay, in our API gateway pom.xml, okay, so okay, fine, one second, let me appearance, okay, basic text font, it should be console as, apply and close, yeah, now it looks good, okay. So we've added the actuator and Eureka client in our, we need to add one more dependency, that is API starter gateway. Let me go to my, and you can just type what, Spring Cloud starter gateway MVN, okay, MVN, you can see Spring Cloud starter gateway MVN repository. Just click here, and yeah, the current version is 4.3.2. just copy it, come to your pom.xml, paste it here, Control Shift F to format. I don't need this, okay, nor the comments, okay, save it. Fine, so this is the first change, okay, and the second change is what, we need to add the JWT dependency in all our this services. Obviously we need to add the JWT security, okay, so need to add the dependency. The second thing is we need to change the version and Spring Cloud version, okay, so 3.2.0, and you can see it should be 2020 3.0.0, and this should be 3.2.0, okay, because Spring Cloud works best with this version, okay. That's it, we need to make the changes. The first is need to add the JWT dependency, most important, okay, security, and need to change the version, okay, so let's do it. We need to add the JWT dependency only in our 4 services, okay, because see, the security part plays a role in only 4 services. User service, okay, user need to log in, then book service, search the book, borrow the book, and notification service. Rest all is the rest of 2 API gateway and that Eureka service, don't need, Okay, just need to change the version. Okay, so let's start with our Eureka. Please focus here. Okay, pom.xml Eureka, and here 3.2.0. okay, and the version is 2023 3. Okay, that's it. Eureka server, and yeah, fine. Okay, let me close this. Fine, and then the next is API gateway. Okay, so here to 3.2.0, and the Spring Cloud version is should be 2023. Okay, let me save it, and now user service. Okay, here from here need to change the version, and the second thing is need to add the JWT dependency. So let me go to my browser and type here java JWT mvn. Okay, the very first com.auth 0 java JWT. Okay, the very current version is 4.5.0. just copy this, and yeah, so user service, first thing is first need to change the version. Okay, Spring Cloud version 2023, and also need to add the dependency. Okay, fine, I don't need this. Okay, let me copy this and do same thing. Okay, in the next is book service. Book service, first the version 2.0, cloud version 2023, and the dependency. Okay, fine. The next is our borrowing service. First change the version 3.2.0, cloud version 2023, and the dependency. Okay, fine. And the last is notification service. Okay, and the cloud version, fine. Okay, save it, fine. Now let's start coding our Eureka. Very less. Okay, just we need to add the configuration. Okay, YML file, application.yml, that's it. And then so what we need to do is, the first is Eureka. Okay, need to add the configuration YML. Second is API gateway. Okay, most important, because here we need to set the routing. Okay, routes, we will route all our these services based on the URL pattern I told you. Okay, suppose user hit the login button, the first control should go to the API gateway, then contact to the Eureka at which URL pattern. Okay, so this is the URL pattern, it will, he knows. Okay, API gateway knows, fine. Based on that URL pattern, Eureka tell, okay, this is the port, it's running, service is running. Okay, fine. So suppose user API user localhost 8081, what I explained you in a code flow, and then proceed next. So these routing we are going to set in our these API gateway YML file. Okay, so most important, please focus. Okay, then let's start. Okay, fine. So now at first Eureka. Okay, so library Eureka server, go to the application file and need to add one annotation, that is enable Eureka server. Okay, you can see org.springframework.cloud.netflix Eureka server, enable Eureka server. Okay, most important, fine. The next is, let's go to our application.yaml and let's add the what configuration. Okay, So the first is server dot port. So the default port is 8761. Okay, then let's add the view configuration. Fine. Okay, Eureka client, then register with Eureka, that is false. Okay, I don't want the Eureka server also register with himself. Okay, all the other services should register themselves with Eureka, not Eureka itself. Okay, and the fetch registry false. Okay, and server enable self preservation to false. Okay, that's it. Server port, Spring application name. Yeah, now let's turn off the logging level. Okay, Netflix logging level. Fine. Okay, so logging level com dot netflix dot eureka off com dot netflix dot discovery off. Okay, that's it. Okay, see, there is nothing much configuration, everything is self-explanatory. Fine, much easy. No, not that much. Okay, because the actual thing comes when we'll code the API gateway configuration. Okay, let's start. Fine, so that's it for library Eureka. Now we need to add few configuration code in each and every microservices to register themselves with Eureka. Okay, we need to add a few configuration code in the user service so that user service registered. Add the same thing for the book service, notification, borrowing, API gateway. Okay, fine. So let me close this chapter over. Let's start the main chapter, that is API gateway. The first is enable discovery client. Okay, so org.framework.cloud client discovery, enable discovery client. Now pom.xml, not pom.xml, yml. Okay, fine. Application name library API gateway. Let's start. So it's in the Spring. Fine. So it's Spring dot cloud. Okay, you can see Spring, and then just like Spring dot application dot name, Spring dot cloud dot gateway dot discovery dot locator dot enabled true and lowercase service ID also true. Okay, we can just write our service ID in lowercase. Fine. Okay, one sec, discovery, and then okay, then in the gateway, so spring dot cloud dot gateway dot routes. This is what the main picture. Okay, now let's route the user service. Okay, fine. So we need to just pass the URL pattern and everything else. Okay, and one by one, same thing you need to do for all the services. Okay, fine. So first is ID. So let's keep the ID as user service. Okay, and then what, URI. So URI should be LB load balancer and user service. Okay, then predicates, so it should be path equals API users, and then Fine. And the last is filters. Okay, so name, group, or replacement. So rewrite path. Okay, so the first should be API users. Okay, and then segment. Okay, or API users, and then dollar segment. Okay, for replacement. Fine. Oh, it should be curly braces and here too. Fine. Yeah, the same thing you need to write for all the services. Same thing. User service. Okay, the next is book service. Just change the user ID here too, and the path URL pattern API books, and here too API books. That's it. Yeah, do it yourself. Pause the video and do it yourself. Okay, fine. And then let me finish it. So let me copy it, paste it here. Fine. Same thing. Paste it here, and same thing, paste it here. Okay, so user service, this is the book service ID, book service here too, book service URL pattern. Let's say we'll keep the URL pattern as API books, API books, API books. That's it. Okay, simple. Fine. So the next is borrowing service. Okay, borrowing service. Fine. And then borrowings, API borrowings. Okay, the last is notification service. Okay, notifications. Fine, that's it. Done. Okay, yeah. So routing is done. Next is what? So next is we need to register this API gateway with the Eureka. So that configuration. Okay. So it's like Eureka client service URL default zone HTTP localhost, and our Eureka is running on which port? 8761. We have already set it. Okay, if you remember, 8761. Okay, so and then Eureka. Fine. And then Eureka, so instance prefer IP address true. Okay, that's it. Only this code we need to write, the same code we need to write in every service application.yml file to register themselves with Eureka, so that internal service communication is easy. Okay, like they know like the other services running on which port, so that they can talk to each other. Okay, fine. Definitely I already explained you in the our code flow. Yeah, and rest all configuration, that is the logging level, gateway timeout, and everything else, so we'll add it externally at the time we'll run. Okay, so what we'll do is we will first, the next is we are going to code our first important service, that is user service. Okay, this is done. Okay, almost this is done. Only thing remaining is all the 4 services working, then book service, then borrowing service, and then notification service. So let's finish it and run it. Okay, and then see whether our gateway, routing, Eureka, and all these API is working or not. Let's try to log in, sign up, whatever, it's working or not. Okay, let's do this. Done. Testing done. And then let's code the book service. let's test it up, short testing, okay, and then borrowing in the notification, and then entire testing using debugging mode. Yeah, happy? Okay, let's do it quickly. Fine. So user service you can also do, because we have built so many projects, and till now we are expert in this user logging sign up using JWT authentication. Okay, yeah, so you can also try or just watch the video. Okay, fine. So let me also just close this, save. Okay, and the first is at enable discovery client. Okay, yeah, in every application file, on every service you need to just mention this. Okay, the next is class user, and the package is entity. Okay, fine. Then first let's create the complete skeleton. So package should be what? Controller. Okay, then the next is service. Okay, then the next package is config. Okay, for the security config. Then DTO, new package is .dto. Then what? Okay, fine, exception. Okay, then what? That's it. Okay, yeah, so that's it. Fine, config, controller, DTO, entity, exception, service, and one more, that is most important, JPA. Okay, that is repository. Okay, fine, yeah. So now let's start with our user. Okay, at entity, at table, users. Okay, and builder. Okay, this is important one. Okay, at the time we'll just set the values, we'll use a builder. Okay, yeah, that's it. Let's add the fields with validation. Private long id, private string email, private string password, private string first name, private string last name. Okay, then private user role. Okay, should be enum. Fine. Then private and what? Boolean active, private local date time created at. Okay, private local date time updated at. Okay, let's add some validation and okay, generated value strategy should be identity. Okay, and column. Okay, nullable false. Okay, and unique true. Fine, because we will let allow users to log in using email password, sign up with email password. Okay, okay, the next is column, same thing for all these nullable false. Okay, fine. So validation. Okay, simple validation for the role. It should be enumerated enum type dot string. Okay, fine. Then user role. Okay, so we'll create public enum user role. Okay, and there are two roles. The first is librarian, okay, that is admin, and the second can be member. Okay, member. So that's it, done. Next is active. Okay, fine. Local date time created at and updated at. Okay, so for these, let's public void pre persist. This dot created at equals local date time dot now at pre persist. Okay, same thing, public void pre-update. This dot updated at equals local date time dot now. Okay, fine. And pre update. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so our user entity is done. The next is DTO. DTO. Okay, the first class is what? Register request. Okay, when user needs to register himself, register request DTO. Fine. Okay, the same thing for login. When user tries to log in, so login request DTO. Okay, and then what? Response. Okay, so login response DTO. Okay, and what? The last one is user DTO. Okay, what will pass? So to register, one second, add data, and what we need now to register, what all fields we need. So what? Private string email, private string password. Okay, then private string first name. Fine. Private string last name. Okay, yeah, once user needs to register, so we need to ask first name, last name, email, password. Okay, and can you add the validation at your own? Okay, just like not blank message first name is required. Okay, similarly last name is required. Okay, so last name is required. Fine. In case of email, just add email. Okay, message invalid format. Okay, and password at size minimum 6. Okay, and message password must be at least 6 characters. Yeah, that's it. Validation. Okay, fine. So this is what once user register. Similarly, so user once try to log in, so we'll allow user to log in with email and password. Okay, so login request DTO. Okay, login request DTO. Fine. So email and password. Okay, data and let's builder. Fine. DTO. Yeah, now user DTO. Okay, so user, because we are going to use the user DTO. Okay, and one thing is, one rule for the user DTO is we should not include the password field in user DTO. Okay, so rest all field let's include. Okay, so I already added ID, email, not password, first name, last name, role, active, created at. Okay, you can also add. There is nothing, there is no big deal. Okay, now login response. What response we want? So first we want private string token. Okay, and then private user DTO, okay, at data at builder. Okay, that's all, our DTO finished. Now let's go to the our directly controller. Okay, so new class and user controller. Fine. REST controller, request mapping and API users. Okay, if you remember the URL pattern we have set here in our API gateway YAML file. Okay, user service and yeah, API users. Okay, so based on this URL pattern, fine, the control should hit on the whatever method will write here. Okay, so for example, we have written the method here as login, register user, register librarian. Okay, get profile. So these method written here in our user controller have the URL pattern API and users. Okay, so now if user hit any of these URL, okay, for example login, so it should be what? API users and then login. So gateway will contact to the Eureka. Eureka based on this URL pattern tells that it is running on the port 8081 or whatever, and then it will go forward localhost 8081 API users and the login part. Okay, already explained you in the code flow. Okay, fine. Yeah, let's start. One more thing, let me also create the service classes. So let's create two service classes, user service, okay, and authentication service. Okay, so authentication service in this class, we will write only the authentication code, login and generate the JWT token. See, in this project I am not going to explicitly create the JWT package and then authentication filter and JWT service class. No. Okay, just that is why we have added this dependency. Where? Yeah, can you see? Java JWT com.auth 0 and what? This one. Spring Boot starter auth to resource server. Okay, just I'll tell you, just we need to write a small code, a method to generate the token. That's it. No that complex, not complex, it's a basic, you should know. So if you want to learn, then just watch my previous videos, project videos. I've explained in detail, like first you need to create the JWT package, then JWT authentication filter, what it does, then service, in that we'll check the expiration, everything else. Okay, but in this let's go direct. Okay, nothing that big deal. Fine, so let's again move to our user controller. Okay, and let's start writing our what methods. So first is the register member, public response entity user DTO register member and request body. One second. At valid and the DTO. Okay, register request DTO. Fine. And what? Register request DTO. So post mapping. Okay, and what? Register. Fine. Now one question I'll ask you, and you need to answer in the comment section. Fine. So what I'll get is I'll get user DTO equals, so let me auto wire the private final user service. Okay, and required args constructor. Okay, no add auto wired annotations, use this way. Okay, so in the user service we'll create the method to register. Already we are master in it. Okay, and I'll pass the register and return response entity dot status. Okay, http status dot created dot body and one second response. Okay, response. Yeah, that's it. And we'll create this method in user service. Okay, service class. Same thing. Now ready for the question. Register librarian. Okay, admin member. Fine, same thing. Same register request DTO and register librarian. Fine. Now if you have seen my past videos, past project videos, I have created a different class to register this member, normal member, user and admin. Okay, librarian is the admin. Fine, who will issue you the book. But in this I have written both in the same class. What is the harm in that? The harm in that is a normal user can also register as a librarian with this API. Okay, he will hit localhost 8081. Okay, whatever domain name, API users. Okay, then this register and librarian. So it will open a form, username, whatever first name, last name, register, and he will also register as a librarian. So there is a security breach. Okay, that's why in the past projects I have differentiate. Okay, I've created a different class like admin registration controller. Okay, and I've added the class level security so that no one can access it. But here I've written in the same class. But I don't want to create a different class. What is the solution? Simple. Solution is simple. Okay, pause the video and you can just write in a comment section. Okay, fine. The solution is simple is will not allow the user to hit this API. We'll add the checks. How? Request matchers. Okay, we'll just set API users register dot permit all in our config class, if you remember, dot any other request dot authenticated. Simple. So this is API user register and star star. But we have not allowed this. Just API user register. Get a point? Okay. Fine. The next is login. So public response entity. Okay. Now the response should be the login response, not the user DTO. So login response DTO. Then login at request request body valid at valid, and here login. No, the return should be the response. Okay, it is response. Fine. I need the response, login response. Once I logged in, so I need what? Token and DTO, user information. Fine. Here I'll pass the login request. Okay, fine. So login response DTO response equals now auth service dot login request DTO and return response entity dot okay response. Yeah, post mapping login. Okay, so here auth service. Okay, we have created two classes, authentication service and user service. User service is responsible for registration, get the profile information, authentication for login, authenticate. So authentication service. Okay, let me also not auto wired, use this authentication service. Okay, fine. Yeah, now just need to give the implementation of these methods. Here it should be register librarian. Okay, one more method, let's create it. Public response entity user DTO and get user profile info. Okay, authentication, it should be the remember this interface. Okay, authentication interface. Fine. User DTO response equals user service dot get user profile information. Okay, pass the authentication and return what? Response entity dot okay response. Fine, this is the get mapping, get user profile. Okay, fine. Let's give the implementation of these methods. Okay, register member in our user service. Public user DTO. Okay, I'm getting the register request DTO. Okay, so at first let's check whether this user is already registered or not. Okay, so how? Repository. So let me first final user. Once again, let me create first the interface. Okay, so user repository. Okay, fine. Extends JPA repository and user long. Yeah, okay. Now what? User service. So user repository and required args constructor. Yeah, now let me check whether it exists or not. So user repository dot exists by email. Okay, and then let me pass the email. Okay, requested, so get email. And let me create this method boolean exist by in the user repository boolean, and let me pass what, email. Okay, fine. So then, okay, if the user already exists, then throw new exception. Okay, so user already exist exception, and user already exist. Okay, let me create this class in our exception interface. Okay, extends runtime exception and the constructor user already exists exception is string email. Okay, super email. Fine, that's it. Okay, fine. Now back to our, let me, okay, import it. If not exists, then fine, new user. So we need to create the user. User equals user dot builder. Okay, we have already added add builder. Okay, that's why, and we'll set the values which I'm getting here. Okay, user will type there is a form. Okay, so request DTO, we want what are the fields we kept, that is the first name, last name, email, password, and then registered. Okay, so it will set here, and then we will set in the user. Okay, after creating the object. Okay, so builder dot first name dot last name dot email dot password should be encoded dot active true dot local date time dot now, and what else, last name role. So user role dot member dot build. Okay, now here what, register request DTO dot get first name, get last name, get email, and here need to private, already did. Okay, just a piece of cake for you guys, already did. Password encoder and password encoder dot encode dot get password. Okay, that's it. And now need to save in the database repository part. So user saved user equals user repository dot save and this user. Okay, it will give me the saved user, but I need to return the DTO, not the user entity, DTO. So need to convert to user DTO. Okay, let me pass the saved user, and let me create this method public, which will give me the user DTO, and to user DTO I'm getting the user from here. Same thing, user DTO equals user DTO dot builder, and what all fields, ID, email, first name, last name, role, active, created at. Okay, so it's done. You can just write dot id dot email and user dot get id get email, done, and then return user DTO. Okay, fine. So now it is converting to the user DTO and then returning it. Okay, same thing for the register librarian. Register librarian. Okay, our another method, this one. Fine. Okay, register librarian. Okay, same thing, like is exist. Okay, first name, last name. Here the role should be librarian. Okay, where we have set in our user entity, if you may remember, enum librarian and member roles. Okay, fine. And the third method is user controller login method. So we'll give the implementation in authentication service. Okay, get user profile info, this method. Okay, let me pass the email, get name. Now you'll get the email. So in the user service, let me create this method, public user DTO. Okay, I'm getting the string email and user repository dot find by email. If not found, or one second, first let me create this method in the user repository. It should be optional. One second, optional util. Okay, and what, one second, user. Okay, user find by email and string email. Okay, so find by email dot or else throw new user not found exception, user not found. Okay, let me create this exception also. Class. Okay, extends runtime exception, constructor user not found, string message super. Okay, fine. Okay, message. Okay, message user not found already exists. Okay, back to the user service. Fine. Now if found, then return it. So return to user DTO and let me pass the user. Okay, and let me also done. Okay, now everything is done. Only one method is remaining, that is login. Okay, let's give the implementation in our authentication service. I'm getting the login request, login response need to pass. Authentication service, public login response DTO login. I'm getting the login request and okay. First let me check. Okay, first let me get it. So user repository, final required constructor user repository dot find by email dot get email or else throw user not found, user not found here. Okay, fine. Next is need to check the password is correct or not. So we have the password encoder, private. Okay, if you remember, there is a method matches password encoder. So password encoder dot matches, and it takes two values. So matches, let me hover. The first parameter is raw password, what user is entering. Okay, so suppose you this is what the login form, username, password, and login. Okay, so user entered ABC. Fine. Okay, this is what the user entered password. Here I am getting the user complete user entity also contain the password which is in the database, the actual password. Suppose the actual password is ABCD. So here I'm checking the entered password raw and the encoded one which is in the database. Okay, so great method. So the first is, let me hover. Yeah, raw password and the encoded second one. So raw password is coming from the get password, and we don't need to decode. Matches method automatically do internally get password. Okay, if matches not, if doesn't match, then what? Throw new credential bad credential exception, message is invalid credentials. Okay, fine. If everything passes, then let's generate the token. Okay, JWT token. So generate token and I'll pass the user. Okay, we'll create this method here only, and then return login response DTO dot, it contains two things, token and DTO. Okay, so the token we'll get from here, builder. Okay, so the first field is token, we'll get from here. The second field is user DTO. Okay, so we got the user, and let me copy this converting method here. Okay, so to user DTO, I'll pass the user here. So it converted to DTO and set in this field of our login response DTO. You know, you better know the usage of this builder. Okay, fine. Very good. And dot build. Now only thing remaining is what? Generate token. Okay, fine. We'll generate the token. Public string generate token. I am getting what? User. Okay, so return JWT. Okay, dot create dot with subject Okay, so user dot get email. Okay, subject email with claim. What are the claims? So role. Okay, role and user ID. Fine. So user ID. Okay, user dot get ID with claim role. So user dot get role dot to string. Okay, fine. Then dot with issued at, so instant dot now with expired at, so instant dot now dot plus expiration time. Yeah, so private string, two things, right? So secret key and private long expiration. Okay, or I can say JWT expiration. So chrono unit dot seconds. Okay, and with sign. So algorithm dot hmac and secret. Fine, secret key. That's it. And these values will come from our YML file. At value. So JWT dot secret. Same thing. Dot. Okay. So where is our YML? Here. JWT dot secret. These value and expiration. So whatever value we'll write here, okay, going to inject in these variables and here too. Okay, and we'll get our token. Once we'll get our token, that's it. That's what our responsibility. Okay, fine. One more thing, if you can do is for the error, you can. I've already shown you in one of the project global exception handler with error message class. Okay, if not, no worries. Code is already there in the description, the complete entire project code. But first, you need to try it. Okay, nothing remaining. We are very close to our first microservice testing in our user controller response. Okay. One second. So it should return the login response DTO. Okay, it is returning, and in our user controller login method. Okay, or response. Fine. Yeah. The only thing remaining is config. New class security config. Okay. Here we'll write our JWT decoder. Okay. And password encoder will just declare the beans and filter chain. Yeah. Configuration enable web security and enable method security. Okay, let's start. This is also we have did so many times, but remember what you need to permit all. Register. Okay, let's see. Okay, fine. Let's see. You can do at your own. This security filter chain method. Please pause the video and do at your own. Okay, so public security filter chain and security filter chain HTTP security HTTP throws exception. Fine. So now HTTP dot what CSRF. Okay, CSRF dot disable, then dot session management. One second. Return. Okay. Yeah. Session management. Session dot session creation policy. session creation policy dot stateless, then authorize auth dot request matches. Okay, so what? API users and register and API users login. Okay, so if any user try to access API user register and then star star, okay, librarian, so no, it should be authenticated. Fine. So these two dot permit all, then dot any request dot authenticated. Fine. Okay, so then dot auth to resource server. Okay, auth to auth to dot jwt. jwt dot decoder and jwt decoder. Okay, we'll create this method dot build. Yeah, that's it. See, and bean. Okay, fine. 1 second. Yeah, fine. So we'll create this method. Okay, before first let me also password encoder return new bcrypt password encoder. Okay, oops, yeah. Now public jwt decoder. Okay, so return and token. Fine, so try catch, let me initialize it. Catch, so jwt and what, validation exception. Okay, e throw new jwt exception invalid jwt token e. Okay, it should be jwt verification exception. Okay, fine. Now first we need to decode the jwt. Okay, for that we need the secret key. Okay, private string secret, so we'll get it same thing, jwt dot secret. Okay, at value secret key. Okay, so decode jwt dot require algorithm dot hmac and secret key. Okay, so then dot build and verify with the token. Okay, fine, decoded. Okay, and then now return jwt dot with token value token. Okay, and then header. So there are two headers. Okay, we'll pass algorithm. Algorithm is what, hs256 and type. So type jwt. Okay, then subject. So now this is what the decoded jwt will get, it email whatever. Okay, decoded Okay, decoded dot get subject. Then claim, same thing. Okay, claim. So I told you two things: claim user ID and role. User ID. So decoded JWT contains these two. Get claim. Okay, and user ID as long claim. Okay, role. Okay, so role decoded JWT dot get claim role dot as what string. Fine, user ID long and role is string. Then issued at, so decoded JWT dot get issued at dot to instant expires at, so decoded JWT dot get, one second, get expires at dot to instant dot build. Yeah, that's it. Completed. Yes. Okay, fine. So everything is done. Password encoder decoded and security filter chain. Now the only thing remaining is application dot YML file. Okay, so let's code it final and then run it. Okay, so once, see, the magic point is once we'll run it, you'll able to write the code for other services by just seeing and recording the code flow. Okay, if you watch the code flow properly, then okay, same thing, same JWT, same that configuration, only thing is controller part. Okay, and I already told you the methods. Okay, if you can code, else just code with me. Okay, so here we need to configure two things. The first is database configuration, JPA, Postgres. See, yeah, we are performing the queries, repositories, and whatever, login, sign up. So we need to, configure here database. And then the second is Eureka configuration. Let this user register with Eureka. Okay, two things. The first, second also, so many projects we did the same application.properties or YAML configuration. Let's do it. So Spring application name, then Spring dot data source URL JDBC PostgreSQL localhost 5432 and database name, so library users. Okay, let's keep this. Then username Postgres, password Postgres, driver class name org dot postgresql dot driver. Okay, then JPA hibernate DDL auto update. Okay, so that's it for our what database. Now Eureka, here one more, show SQL true. Okay, Eureka client service URL default zone HTTP localhost 8761 Eureka. Okay, and instance prefer IP address true. Okay, fine, done. And here we'll write it. Okay, fine. So the secret key, whatever, and expiration maybe 24 hours, 1 hour, whatever. Now everything is done. User controller, DTOs, service, exceptions, repository, service classes, YAML. Only thing remaining is let's test it out. Okay, so what we'll do is we will run our Eureka server. Then we will run our gateway. Okay, so it is running on 8761. It is running on 8080. And our user service, this one, so it is running on 8081. Okay, we'll configure it. Server.port 8081. Fine. Let's do it. Fine. Okay. Done. So Eureka is running on 8761. Gateway is running on 8080, and our user service is running on 8081. Fine. Now a new user wants to register. So enter the username, email, password, first name, last name, and here register button. Okay, we'll do it from the postman. Once click on the register, okay, so the URL, the link should be localhost 8080 API users and register. Localhost 8080, the gateway URL. Okay, now this gateway will contact to the Eureka that this URL pattern service is running on which port. He will check that the user service already registered with the Eureka, so he will check, okay, it is running on the 8081. Then it will route to the localhost 8081 and whatever API users register, and the user will be registered successfully. Done. Okay, vanishes. Fine. So let's test our first app. Okay, let's start our testing. Let's first run our Eureka server. 1 second. 1 second. So we forget one thing. Did you notice? We forget one thing, that is we forget to configure our SQL. Yeah, see, we are running the queries, login, register. Okay, so the queries are responsible, just like select star from or insert into. For that we need to configure our SQL, just like we used to do in our past projects. Okay, so we have the MySQL installed in our local, so that we'll write here localhost and 3306 is the port number. In the same way, we need to configure our Postgres. Okay, we are using the Postgres. Now the interesting part is there are two options. Either you'll install the Postgres software, okay, and configure it so that we can use the local host. Okay, install the Postgres in your local machine. The second is the most recommended one, is no need to install the softwares and all. Rather, we are going to create the Docker compose.yml file. Okay, Docker compose.yml file, and in that we are going to pull the image. We are going to pull the Postgres image by providing these password and this database name. So the Postgres image got pulled with these credentials and we are ready to use that. But how to configure, I'm going to show you in just few seconds, so please pay attention. Okay, so let's start configuring our Postgres using Docker Compose. Fine. So the first thing is you can just note it down also. Go to the main directory. Okay, or I can say the parent directory where all these apps are placed. Okay, or unzipped. Fine. Okay, because these are the microservices. Okay, 4 services, 6 services, 8 services, 10 services, different Spring Boot apps, and I want that I'll create just one docker compose.yml file for all, so that uh, whatever so we are going to use the different databases. So in just one docker compose yml file, okay, I'll configure it and for all the services. So uh, that's why we are going to create this yml file in the parent directory. Okay, fine, let's do it. So let me go to the parent directory. So properties in explorer. Okay, so in case of IntelliJ IDEA, open in explorer, okay, where you have kept all the files. Yeah, you can see. So this is what the zip file we have downloaded from Spring Initializer and unzipped. So here let me open the command prompt. Okay, and let me open the VS Code. Fine. So code dot. Fine. So it will open the VS Code. Fine. Okay, done. One second, let it open. Yeah, so here you can see all the files. Okay, because we have opened the VS Code in that directory only. Fine, so here let's create docker hyphen compose dot yml. Okay, so it is creating the file, and in the meantime, one second. Yeah, okay, so in the meantime, if you haven't downloaded the docker desktop, then please, I'll recommend you to download. So how download? Just docker desktop. Okay, and yeah, so you can see the very first link, the hashtag one, containerization tool for developers. Okay, then just go there and you can see choose plan or download docker desktop. So choose your Windows, your OS, download for Windows, ARM64, okay, Mac, Silicon and Intel chip, whatever. Fine. Okay, so once downloaded, you'll open the Docker and it looks like this. Okay, containers, images, volumes, builds, and whatever. Fine. So we need to create our container. Okay, it will automatically create. Okay, will not create. We'll just run one command. Okay, fine. So where is my? Okay, so here in our Docker compose.yml, we are going to write one, configuration. This is what the configuration. Now don't ask me from where I have copied and pasted the configuration. It's simple. Okay, see version I've written. Let me zoom it a little bit. Okay, now it's good. Yeah, version 3.8. See, I've already pasted the entire docker compose.yml link in the description. Wait. Okay, don't just directly jump into the description, open and copy paste. No, just wait. Let me explain this. Fine. Yeah. So after let me explain, you can just go and copy and paste it. But wait for a second. So you can see version 3.8. Okay, the services. Fine. And you can see here PostgreSQL for user service. Okay, currently we are testing just user service. That's why I have just added here user service, PostgreSQL, the configuration. Fine. In the description, in the description, you'll see once you'll open the link and you'll see the docker compose.yml contains all the services. Like it's complete docker compose.yml. Okay, because Where is my that? Yeah, because we have how many services? User service, notification, Eureka, borrowing, book service. Okay, so for all these services also I need to add the Postgres configuration. So you will see that. But for now we are testing one by one. Okay, so first user DB, okay, user service, then book service, then borrowing service, then notification service. Okay, and in that you'll find like this user DB. Then one second, let me just copy this and paste, and then again paste. So like this user DB, then book DB, then borrowing DB. Okay, and also Redis, RabbitMQ configuration, adding the volume. So complete entire thing. But okay, but we are going to test one by one. Okay, so just remove that and let's only pull for now. Let's only pull the user DB. Fine. So see, image is Postgres 15, environment variables, env variables, that is the DB name what we have given, library underscore users. Okay, if you remember. Postgres user password, username is Postgres, and Postgres password is password. No, not password we have given. We have given what? Postgres only. See, database name we have given, library users, username Postgres, password also Postgres. Okay, so in the Docker Compose, okay, ports 5432, okay, and volumes user data, and this is what the path and volumes user data. That's it. That's it. Fine. Okay. Now we need to just run one command in our parent directory. So our parent directory, yeah, can you see a docker compose.yml created? Let me open the command prompt. One second. It's already opened. Okay, in the parent directory only. Fine. So here docker compose up hyphen d. That's it. That's it. Yeah, can you see running 0 by 1 and user db pulling. It is pulling our image. Okay, let it pull. Let's wait for few seconds or maybe a minute or two. Okay, so I guess it's about to finish. Okay, complete, and you can see library management created and the container, can you see container library management user db1 is started. Okay, let me go to my docker desktop. Yeah, can you see automatically the container created? Okay, let me go inside. Yeah, so user db and it is started. Okay, can you see Postgres 15? Okay, 5432 is the port and library management user db. See, now we don't need to download the software. Let's pull it. And it's not just about the db or this project. Okay, everything we can pull using the docker. So no need to just, okay, you have the MySQL, remove it. Okay, I'll pull it, just run this command. Fine. What I'll do is in the parent directory, I'll create a docker compose.yml file. Okay, inside it, I'll just, give the version and the services, the volume name, user DB, image and env variables, the port number and the volume path. Okay, MySQL, Postgres, whatever. And you can just mention the volumes. Okay, user data. Fine, user data. Okay, if suppose there are multiple DBs you wanna create, copy this. Okay, paste it here. Fine, and user DB. So like book DB. Fine, it's not Postgres, it's MySQL, whatever. Okay, so no need. Fine, and also you can just search on the AI and you'll get it. It's super simple. Fine, so it is a recommended approach. Why would I download the software? Okay, now so it's working. I have configured our what this Postgres SQL. Now let's test our application. I've already opened my Postman. So yeah, let's start. So first the flow should be the important. The first you need to what? Run the Eureka server. Okay, so let me run my Eureka server, run as Java application. Okay, okay, so it's running library Eureka server. Fine. And yeah, with port 8761, that is super good. Okay, so okay, yeah, it started the library Eureka server application. Fine. Okay, fine. Then the next is we need to start our API gateway. API gateway. Okay, so run as same Java application. Okay, so let's start with our API gateway. Okay, so by default it is running on the port definitely 8080. Okay, let it run. Yeah, it started on the port 8080. Okay, and started library API gateway application. Fine. Now the magic, not magic. Now your job, you need to point out the mistakes and why. Fine. Now let's run our what? The main testing, that is user service. User service. Okay, because we need to test the user service endpoints only. Okay, register, login, get profile info, whatever. Okay, so let's run our, and yeah, one more thing. So please don't forget to write your secret and expiration. Okay, the secret should be combination of what, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, everything else. Okay, so here is my secret key and expiration. Let's keep it as 864000. Okay, fine. Now also we'll get error. Okay, let's see. Okay, so it's running our application library user service, and definitely will get an error. Definitely, for sure. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So our first error is unable to determine dialect without JDBC. Okay, there is some timing problem. Okay, fine, we'll add the dialect, then too it will create this problem. Okay, fine. And yeah, can you see? Federal invalid value for parameter time zone. Asia, Calcutta. Okay, actually Postgres will not take Asia, Calcutta. It will take Kolkata. Okay, it's updated in the time zone. So we need to update it to UTC format. Okay, so fine. So can you see in the last it is saying unable to determine dialect. Okay, we haven't added here dialect, but that is not mandatory. Okay, so I'll show you. Even we'll add dialect, then too it will give me an error. Database, platform, and how to a dialect, go to any Java file, Control Shift T. Okay, and you can just type PostgreSQL dialect. Okay, there is a class file. Okay, Java people created already. You can just search the classes, right click, copy qualified name, and come to your again application file and save it. Okay, fine. Again, let's run it. Run as Java application. So now we have added the dialect. Okay, just like we used to add in MySQL and everything else. Now again, let's see the error will resolve or not. But that, because the error is not about the dialect. Okay, it's about the time zone. Okay, it's starting fine on the port 8081. Yeah, can you see? Now the dialect issue is not coming. Just one error is coming, that is, yeah, invalid. Okay, so let's remove it just like as before. Let me save it, and what you need to do is, if you face this problem, fine, on your application file, right click, run as, run configuration. We need to add the VM arguments. Okay, the UTC time zone. Can you see arguments? Go to the arguments and VM arguments. Paste this d user dot time zone equals UTC. Okay, I've also added this this small time zone equals UTC code in the description. You can just copy and paste it there. Okay, you should not make the mistake. Fine, just copy paste in the VM arguments. Okay, and apply. Fine, and close it. Now see, we haven't added the dialect also, but just we have changes to UTC. Now run as Java application. Okay, now let's see. Our library user service is started. Fine. So okay, 8081 here. Fine. And mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, registered and started library user service application. Okay, started without dialect, because the problem is not about dialect, it's about the time zone. Fine. Now first let me show you the Eureka dashboard. Okay, so go to your browser and you'll just type, our Eureka is running on which port? 8761, right? 878761. So yeah, 8761. Okay, let's go there. Localhost and 8761. Okay, can you see this is the Eureka dashboard, and can you see this? Instances currently registered with Eureka. Okay, what are the instances? API gateway and library user service, because we are testing the user service and API gateway obviously. Okay, so these two are come here. AMI is availability zone 1 and status is up or down, up status, and this should be 1, like the same number for all the services, because all the services are registered with Eureka. Okay, I've already explained you. Fine, we have also written the code to register with Eureka. Okay, in each of the application file. This is the Eureka client, this is. Okay, the same code we have written in the API gateway also. Yeah, can you see this? So this is what the to register with the Eureka, so that the services can talk to each other. They know like fine, they are running on this port. Okay, otherwise localhost 8081, some is running on the localhost 8083, some 9090. What? Fine. The second thing is, let's start testing with the Postman. Okay, so let's first test our, where is my controller, user controller and register, API user register. Okay, so localhost, and see, I have written the port as 8080, not the port which our user service is running. See, it is running on the port 8081. Okay, and our API gateway is running on the port 8080. Okay, by default port. So where is our API gateway? Eureka server. Yeah, library API gateway. Okay, and you can see it started on port 8080. Fine. So this is what I want to show you. I'm going to hit the API users and register. Fine. And body raw text JSON. Fine. And so user controller is taking register DTO, which is first name, last name, email, password. So first name, last name, okay, email, and password. Fine. Post request, post. Now what we'll do is first let me send it. So yeah, API users service unavailable. Okay, let's see why it is giving me this error. Okay, so service unavailable. Okay, let's see. No server available for service user service. User service is the ID we have given in the API gateway. See how you are going to debug it. Fine. So user service. Okay, so instead of this, we need to give here in the routing when we'll route our services in the gateway. We need to give the ID as what? The application name, library, user, service. Library, user, service. Okay, and I need to restart that. Where is my API gateway? I guess this is what the API gateway. Yeah, let me terminate it. Okay, and what? Again, let me restart. Because the user service is unable to find. That means the ID should be same as what? Uh, the application name. Okay, the application name. Library user service. See, I am doing hit and trial. I don't know anything. Fine. I'm doing hit and trial. How to debug, how to resolve the error. Microservices errors. Okay. So it started. Now let me again try it. The same thing, same, nothing change. Okay. Registered? Yes. So you can see insert into users and whatever. Hibernate. ID1, this is what my last name, first name, role as member. Okay. Active true and created at this. Yeah, can you see? Like how we debug. You've seen, right? Like it's saying there is no user service available, no active profile for user service. So definitely user service we have given the ID. Okay, let's change to the same the service which is running the service name ID. Okay, did it. Fine. Now let's log in. So localhost and login. In the login, post request body. So I'm logging in using the email and password. Okay, so what is the email I've given? Okay, and password I've given as okay. Let me send it. Yeah, so I got it. The token. I'm expecting that only. I got the JWT token. Fine. Now using that token, let me you know what? Let me get the profile information. Okay. So localhost and so API users and get user profile info. So get user profile info, get request, body nothing, authorization JWT, not bearer token, and Yeah, not that. The token I have copied. Okay, a user token. Okay, because I have logged in. Now I need to access the API. Fine. Get okay. Send. Got it. I got my profile information. I am the member, my last name, first name, active, ID, created at. So with the token. Remove the token and just send it 401 unauthorized. Obviously. Already did in so many projects. Okay, fine. So this is what our I guess the testing. Yeah, that's it. Else you can just test at your own, register librarian and whatever. Okay, so see now register librarian. If you'll just librarian. Okay, and again post request. So let me change few things. Yashendra DH. Okay, and first name. Okay, password also. Fine. Now we are allowing here just request matchers permit all API user register. Okay, normal user can register normally with the API. But suppose if some person try to just hit this register librarian, enter these details and send it. So 401 unauthorized because any other request authenticated. Okay, only these two permit all. Fine. So you better know. Okay, we did so many projects, did the same thing. Fine. So this is what we have done. Our library user service. Okay, finish the job done. Now, now the next is library book service. Okay, borrowing service and notification service, which requires RabbitMQ. Obviously, already I explained the, created the crash course for RabbitMQ and borrowing service notifications and book service. Okay, fine. I guess the video is getting very long. So let's do one thing. Let's divide the complete package, this library management microservices project in two parts. One is the code flow and user service plus testing that we have did. The next is notification, borrowing and book service plus testing and debugging. Okay, fine. So, and yeah, one more thing, please, and please don't tell me like in the comments that you should fine, create the entire video in one go. No worries. For that, I already attached the entire code, source code link in the description. But please don't open it directly without watching the video. Okay, because see, in there you'll not get how to resolve that fatal time zone error. Okay, I'm getting so many, messages from my offline students that we've just copy and pasted the same code and it's running. But when trying to run the user service or any other services notification, I'm getting this fatal and not able to resolve. Okay, even AI is failed. Okay, because you need to watch like why this error is coming. Okay, for that you need to watch the video. Okay, fine. But please, at least, please don't skip the code flow. Okay, fine. So this is what the entire uh, source code attached. Once you'll try yourself and then open the source code. Okay, and copy and paste your and just hit it. Okay, also you can just add in your resume because we have used so many technologies in this. Okay, fine. Then let's see you in the next video completing this project. Okay, thank you.